So you're new to backpacking and you're a little bit overwhelmed on all the gear you may need to get started. Don't worry friends, I got you covered. What's up guys, I'm Joe with Backcountry Treks. If you're new here, this channel is all about backpacking, hiking, camping, and sharing tips and tricks to help give you a better experience while you're on trail and in the backcountry. If that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any new content when it drops. So before I get into this, I just want to say that gear can be a very controversial subject. What some people love and have a great experience with, others will have had a bad experience with and completely hate. Now I do encourage you to do a lot of research, read a lot of reviews, watch YouTube videos on gear. There's a ton of it out there. You're not going to know for sure it works great for you until you experience it firsthand. All right, I'm going to kick this off by talking about the big three. The big three is your shelter, your sleep system, and your pack. So in my opinion, get your pack after you get your big ticket items. That way you get the correct size that accommodates the items that you have. All right, so first on the list is going to be your shelter. There's two main shelters out there that people tend to use, and that is either a hammock or a tent. But I will say, if you're just getting started into backpacking, there is a steeper learning curve in hammock camping. My recommendation is to start off in a tent. Unless you're really into hammocking, then by all means go down that rabbit hole, but it is a little more involved in my opinion than just tents. If you are interested in tents, there's two different kinds, a single wall and a double wall. A single wall does not have the mesh interior, it's just a single wall. Whereas the double wall has the mesh interior and the rain fly that goes over top of that. I personally prefer a double wall over a single wall for a couple of reasons. If it's a beautiful night, you can ditch that rain fly and enjoy the beautiful stars over your head. You don't have that option with single wall tents. Also, condensation is much more of a nuisance in a single wall versus a double wall tent. So that is something to consider as well. The other kinds of tents that are available are either freestanding or trekking pole tents. The difference in those quickly are that the freestanding tents come with tent poles and you can set up without actually having to stake anything out, whereas a trekking pole tent, you'll have to stake out the four corners in order to pitch your tent. I'm not going to tell you which one to get. You're going to have to do that research on your own and figure out what is best for you, but I would say that freestanding tents are probably a little bit easier to deal with than a trekking pole tent if you're new to it all. All right, next up on the list is your sleep system. This will comprise of your sleeping pad and your top quilt or sleeping bag. Again, you can go down a rabbit hole with all these things. My suggestion, if you're gonna be sleeping in a tent or on the ground, getting started, I am a huge fan of buy once, cry once. And this is where it can become controversial. I have purchased a budget-friendly sleeping pad. I think it was $50 on Amazon. It's nice and lightweight. It's the Climate Static V sleeping pad. I took that on a trip in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado and used it for 2 or 3 nights. I slept terribly. I'm a side sleeper. I'm about 205 pounds, so I'm a little bit bigger guy. And every time I moved, I felt all the ground that was underneath me. That thing was so uncomfortable. So after that trip, I decided to upgrade and I got a Nemo Tensor. About $100 more than the Climate Static V. I think it's somewhere in the $150, maybe $170 range, which sounds like a lot, but the comfort level is, for me, second to none. Sleeping on my side on that pad, I don't feel the ground anymore. You need good sleep when you're in the backcountry. All right, so I got a budget option for my pillow, and that is my Trekology 2.0. You can get that on Amazon. It's somewhere around $15. It has a nice elastic strap that goes around your sleeping pad. And what that does is help prevent your pillow from sliding away from you all night long. Every little move you make, that pillow oftentimes wants to just pop right out. So having that elastic band around there has been really helpful. I don't love this pillow, but I like this pillow. I would love this pillow if it had a little bit more loft because I'm a side sleeper. You know, you need to be able to fill up this section well so your head's not getting that neck crank all night long. And the Trekology does a good job of getting my head mostly in a comfortable position, but it's not great. So I may, being a little more broad-shouldered, upgrade to an even thicker pillow in the future. Next up on the list is either a sleeping bag or a top quilt. Now again, I'm not going to deep dive into all this. That'll be for a separate video. Most people that aren't used to quilts cannot seem to grasp the concept of a quilt. The difference between a top quilt and a sleeping bag is that the top quilt just does not have the back on it. Contrary to what you might think, you don't actually need the back on your sleeping bag, in that once that down is compressed, it loses all of its ability to insulate you. Your warmth is coming from the sleeping pad underneath of you that traps that heat. If you feel more comfortable in a sleeping bag, by all means go for it. My recommendation is to look into some down quilts and consider that, as it will be lighter and packed smaller. Again, that's just me. The next item to talk about would be your pack itself. Now, like anything else, there's a million different packs out there to choose from. To keep things simple, my recommendation if you're just getting started is to go to your local outdoor retail store. For me, it's an REI. Get your torso length fitted so you get the right size pack specific for you. There's a huge amount of gear to choose from. It can be overwhelming. So again, read reviews, do your research, and get what's going to best suit you and what you feel is most comfortable for you. All right, so that covers your big 3 ticket items. Next up, we have your miscellaneous items that you're going to need to be out there. Let's talk first about hydration. You need to find a way to filter clean water. What I and probably most people I see out there using is a Sawyer squeeze. It's about $30 to $35. You can get them on Amazon, you can get it at Walmart, they're everywhere. Again, there are more options out there. They make pumps, they make all kinds of different stuff, but in my opinion, for the cost and ease of use and flow rate, the Sawyer squeeze is, for me, the winner. So most of us out there are going to be eating a lot of snacks and freeze-dried meals. So you're gonna need a cook pot. Again, my recommendation is go on Amazon. Whatever you do, don't spend $40, $50, $60 on a cook pot. That is, in my opinion, completely unnecessary. There's a million of them out there, but just find something that is lightweight. Stay away from stainless steel, try to stick with titanium. It'll be lighter. So once you have your cook pot, you're gonna need a way to boil your water. For me, I use the BRS stove. It's another budget option on Amazon. I think it's around $15 or $16. It's super small and lightweight, and this thing absolutely rips. I've never had a bad experience with my little BRS stove, so that is a great budget option to look for. I personally bring 2 mini Bic lighters in the event one of them fails. If you're going out with a group of people and everybody has a lighter, you don't necessarily need to bring 2, but just because I'm OCD about it, I always have 2 mini Bic lighters. Most likely, if you're out there camping, you're going to want to have a fire. The easiest way I have found to start a fire is with these little fire blocks. Again, I get them from Walmart. They're very lightweight, and they light even if they're wet. I have gotten fires started in very soggy, wet, tough conditions by using these little fire blocks. So I recommend picking up a box of those. Something else you're gonna have to consider when you're backpacking is hanging your food at night. Make sure you have a waterproof stuff sack or bear bag, whatever you wanna call it, to hang your food 10 feet up, 5 feet out, and 5 feet down in a tree at night. Unless you're in an area that requires bear canisters, then you're gonna have to bring a bear canister. If you bring your food with you in your tent overnight, worst case scenario, you can invite an unwanted bear into your camp sniffing around in your tent. What's more likely to happen is you'll invite rodents, mice, chipmunks, varmints, whatever mints, that'll come in and chew holes in your expensive gear to get after that candy wrapper that you forgot to take out and throw into your food bag and hang in your tree overnight. Anything that has any smell at all, put that in your food bag and put that up in the tree. All right, the last thing I want to touch base on is your clothing and your footwear. Number 1 recommendation with clothing is ditch the cotton. If you're car camping or whatever, that's fine, but if you're actually backpacking, cotton sucks. It's heavy, takes forever to dry once it gets wet. It does a terrible job of insulating you. It's bulky, it doesn't pack down small, so just leave the cotton at home. What I recommend instead is using a polyester type synthetic blend. I get free shirts from my wife. She does a lot of 5Ks and she'll bring home these polyester synthetic blend type shirts that are awesome for backpacking. You can get this stuff at a TJ Maxx, Marshalls, some kind of discount clothing store. I've gotten them for $5 to $10 a piece. You don't need to spend much on those at all. As far as your bottoms go, that's entirely up to you, whether you like shorts with, spandex pants underneath of them, or you like the zip off pants that have the short pants combo, pants, shorts. The other thing I want to recommend quick about clothing is make sure you have a specific set of camp clothes. This way, if you're out sweating all day or you get caught in the rain or whatever the case may be and your backpacking clothes are wet, you have a nice comfortable pair of dry camp clothes to change into to hang out and camp in and go to bed in. That also helps prevent you from climbing into your sleep system with all your grimy shit on that you've been sweating and farting in all day long. The next recommendation I have is for your feet. You got to keep your feet healthy. So this is another controversial subject, but if you want to prevent blisters, stay away from hiking boots as they will make your feet sweat like crazy. Again, this is just my experience. I used to have a pair of hiking boots. It was dreadful trying to hike in warmer temperatures with hiking boots on. I switched to trail runners. If you have a trail runner or you're going to get a trail runner, make sure you get one that has a nice wide toe box and allows your toes to wiggle around and move around in there. And the other recommendation I have with purchasing trail runners is make sure you go a half size up. Your feet will swell when you're backpacking. Also, when you're descending something, you don't want your toe banging into the front of your shoe going down, or you'll end up with a nice black toe and lose your toenail. If they do get wet or damp, they dry a lot quicker. Boots will take forever to dry. The other thing that matters a lot to prevent blisters is your socks. My recommendation for socks, and I've played with a lot of different kinds, and the two that I've landed on that work really well for me are the Injinji socks. They're actually toe socks. They're nice because they help prevent any kind of rubbage that goes on between your toes, and a brand called Darn Tough. Darn Tough socks are anywhere from $17 to $20 a pair. However, they are extremely comfortable, and when they do wear out, you can send them back in and get a new pair for free for life. There is a lifetime warranty on Darn Tough socks. Just know that your first experience out there is going to be a major learning experience. Go out there, enjoy yourself, do research on the area that you're going to be in, test your gear out before you take it out into the backcountry, set it up in your backyard, get familiar with your tent, how it sets up, how it tears down, pack it up, unpack it, get familiar with it, and then take it out. Always leave no trace. That means everything you pack in, you pack back out. Bury all your number 2 dirty business. That includes your shit tickets. Unless you're in an area where they require you to pack that out, then follow those rules as well. It's important that we keep our backcountry areas clean and pristine for future generations and just for the quality of our beautiful backcountry. Well guys, that wraps up today's video. If you found any value in this, remember to hit that like button, and again, consider subscribing. Thanks again for checking out Backcountry Treks, and I will see you on the next one.